Hello and welcome back. We are the Red Flag Coaches,
Lawrence,
and Dr. T here with another Red Flag Alert.
how they treat you is how they feel about you. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. How they treat you is how they feel about you. Let's talk about it.
Interesting. Can I go way back on this one?
Go way back.
I'm gonna go way back on this one. So many years ago, when I was a school counselor, I used to have parents come to my office and talk to me about their children. Not the things that were necessarily going on at school, but things that were going on at home, y'all. These parents would come to me because they were frustrated about how disrespectful their child was at home.
Wow.
And they would come to me asking me for help and support and what to do with their disrespectful child. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm over the age of 53. And in my household, growing up, the oldest of 3 girls, my mama and daddy didn't play the radio.
Ooh.
Listen, mess around and be disrespectful if you want to. You would not know whether or not a shoe was coming your way,
right.
A cup was coming your way, an extension cord. My sisters remember the black belt. But nevertheless, my parents would not tolerate that type of behavior from us. And as a result, there were consequences that we didn't know at first, but we learned
Right.
later on with negative behavior, there were consequences to follow. That taught us that if we were to engage in any type of disrespect towards our mother or our father, that there would be consequences to pay. And oftentimes it was negative. Here's what I want you to remember in this. When a person teaches you how they feel about you with their actions, you best believe it.
That's it.
One thing my mother and father taught me is that disrespect was not tolerated in their household.
Right. And the thing about it, to go even a little further, the truth of the matter is it was not just our parents who we could not disrespect.
Ooh.
You couldn't even go to the school. You couldn't even go to church and let someone try to say that you were disrespectful.
Right.
And if they did say something to your parents, you already knew what to expect when you got home as well. But now we're in a different day, in a different age, in a different time where even kids disrespect parents. Kids disrespect authority all the way around. But more so, let's talk about what we really want to talk about, how we allow people to treat us with disrespect.
Yep. And so how they treat you is how they really
How they feel about you.
And we're so busy trying to hide things and mask things and make things look so pretty on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever social media you find yourself on. But the truth of the matter is how they treat you is really how they feel about you.
Exactly.
So let's talk about these 3 ways that we want you to be able to identify how they treat you is how they really feel about you.
That's it.
Here's the first one. Y'all ready? Here's the first one. The first one is this. They consistently dismiss your feelings.
Wow. And that's one of the things that no one ever wants to have to deal with when they feel as if my feelings are being dismissed. Because everybody wants to feel like someone is paying them some attention. They want to feel like somebody is listening to whatever it is that they're feeling.
Right.
And so everybody has different emotions, different feelings. And the one thing that you and I have a problem with is when we feel as if we're being dismissive. Our feelings are being dismissive. Right. And when we are at that place where we feel like our feelings are being dismissed, what ends up happening, we start to disrespect that person.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is we have to ask ourselves, how did I get to this place where I allow them to dismiss my feelings?
Yep. So we also operate out of bitterness.
Right.
When we have our feelings dismissed, not kind of like you're not hearing me.
Right.
I'm not important enough for you to pay attention to, and you've dismissed my feelings. Now I'm bitter And now I'm going to disrespect you, like the kids say, because you disrespected me.
Right. And that's one of the things that happens in those situations, that you get to the place where it's almost like disrespect creeps in because dismissed feelings had taken place. And you don't ever want to get to the place again where you start disrespecting because of your dismissed feelings. And I want you to hear me today, because in relationships, in marriages, the one thing that has to be taken into consideration in order to have a flourishing relationship, flourishing marriage, are the ability to have people's feelings heard and not dismissed.
Right. And so if you feel your feelings matter, then you need to take a look at how you're being treated in this relationship, because this red flag is a huge one.
Dismissed feelings was definitely a red flag.
Here's the second one.
Let's talk about it.
Y'all ready for the second one? Here's the second one. When your significant other, your spouse, your babe, your boo, ignores your needs.
Ooh. Did you hear that? Ignores your needs. And that's, again, very, very critical for any relationship, because every person has needs, whether the man or the woman. Every person has needs, and when those needs are ignored, it again will get to a place where one or the other will start looking for outside sources, even sometimes, to have their needs fulfilled. Did I just say that?
You did.
And the truth of the matter is, whenever my needs are ignored, somebody somewhere may be available to help fulfill those needs. And that's why it's very critical in any relationship for each other to make sure that they're paying attention and not ignoring needs. And if your needs are being ignored, that is a major red flag.
Right.
Because, tell them about it.
You always give an example about a baby, and parents know the cries of their child. There's the cry of affliction, and there's the cry of attention.
Exactly.
And those two cries, they are cries, but those two cries sound very different to a parent. The cry of attention, if you washing dishes or doing something else, you got a couple of more moments that you could stay away from the baby, because the baby doesn't need you. They just want you, just want your attention. But then there's the cry of affliction that a parent knows when they hear this cry, it is a 911, that they are dropping everything and they are making their way to the baby, because this cry doesn't sound like the cry of attention. This cry is a cry of affliction.
I'm hurting.
I'm hurting. You need to come see about me. And so even in that, the same is true when it comes to our relationships. There is the need and the want of attention, but then there are times when my attention is so elevated that I'm in a place of affliction that I don't necessarily require a conversation with you, but now it's something to the next level where I really need your engagement. I need you to pay attention to me. I need you to be in my space with me, because I'm feeling some type of way and it's hurting me.
Right.
And so when you're in a relationship and those needs are not met, when you have those unmet needs, eventually you start tapping out.
Right, no question. And that's one of the things that you have to recognize. Again, we always talk about the wants, the needs, the expectations, and the non-negotiables. Needs is just one facet of that part that we need in our lives. And so nobody, again, I want to say it again, ever wants to have their needs ignored, whether it's the attention that they need, whether it's the affection that they need, whether it's the communication that they need. No one wants to have needs ignored. And the truth of the matter is, if those needs are being ignored, what ends up happening is that you start to build a wedge between the two of you, simply because one person feels as if they don't care.
Yep. And I love that you talked about the wants, needs, expectations, and non-negotiables, because that's one of the things we always talk about in our premarital coaching and our marriage counseling, in our private practice is that what are the wants, needs, and expectations of the couple, but more importantly, what are your wants, needs, expectations individually? Because unless you know that about yourself individually, you can't express that to the other person, let alone try to build that in the relationship.
Right. Exactly. And so listen, we want to just make sure you understand that now, that it's very critical. I like to use that word critical, that needs are not ignored. And if they are, you may want to think about that red flag before it becomes a flag on fire.
Here's the third one. Here's the third way that how they treat you is how they feel about you. Here's the third way. They undermine, or they devalue your feelings. The first way is they dismiss them. But this way, they even acknowledge them, but they undermine them or they devalue them.
Wow. This is different now. Devalue, right? Meaning they feel as if your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions have zero value.
Or less than their own.
Less than their own, exactly. Why we're talking about this tonight is simply because, again, when you start talking about undermining or devaluing your feelings, it is so necessary to, again, understand that nobody wants to feel devalued.
Right.
It's kind of like I was at this session one time and they took a $20 bill out of the pocket and they crumbled the $20 bill up and they asked the question, who still wants this $20 bill? Everybody's hands went up. Then they took the $20 bill and they did some other crazy stuff with the $20 bill. They took the $20 bill, put it on the floor, stepped on it. Who still wants this $20 bill? Everybody's hand went up. And they kept going until they got to the point where the $20 bill was so dirty, so nasty, and they asked, who still wants the $20 bill? And they all still raised their hand. So the guy says, well, why do you still want the $20 bill? And they all said, because it never lost its value. Here we go. I need you to understand this, that even though a person may not be all you think they should be, we should never get to the place where we devalue their feelings. Everybody's feelings are real, and we don't want to get to the place where that feeling or whatever they're sensing or whatever they're thinking is devalued.
Right. In a relationship, no one person's emotions or feelings are more important than the other. We value what the other person brings to the table, what they bring to the relationship. And so a red flag is simply this: when the other person undermines or devalues your feelings, that is definitely a red flag. We need to make sure that in relationships that we're being heard, that we're being seen, and what's the third one?
Listened to.
That we're being listened to. That we're being heard, seen. No, that's the same thing. Heard, seen, listened to. What was the third one?
No, I forgot now. Anyway.
Go back and watch the other video. But what we're simply saying to you is you matter. Whether you are in a relationship, whether you are in a marriage, even if you're a parent, even on your job, you matter. And so you want to always make sure that you're taking a look to make sure that people are valuing your emotions. Can I flip the script real quick before we end this one? So we said in the beginning, how they treat you is how they feel about you. But the truth of the matter is, honey,
what's that?
You teach people how to treat you. Let me say that again. You teach people how to treat you.
And that's the same analogy that you gave in the beginning, that again, the truth of the matter is what we have to do is make sure we understand that it's up to us individually to teach people how to treat us. And so if people are treating you with disrespect, people are treating you with dishonor, it's because you've taught them how to treat you. And you've got to do a better job yourself of making sure you value yourself, make sure you don't ignore your feelings, make sure you don't get to the place where you consistently dismiss your own feelings. And when you do that, you'll see that your life, your relationships, and everything else will turn out even better. And if you don't take those into consideration, it'll continue to be a red flag.
Well, good people, we just wanted to make sure that you understood this red flag, because like all of the red flags, it's important for you to know how you're showing up first and then what you are bringing to the table when it comes to your relationship.
Exactly.
We are your red flag coaches, Dr. T.
And Lawrence.
And we hope you enjoyed this episode of what?
Red Flag Alerts. Y'all be blessed. See you next time.